incentives easily preyed upon by recruiters and recruiting material that misrepresent the real costs and burdens of warfighting. Recruiters recruit adolescents, younger than those who in this country can legally purchase alcohol. And yet those who are being recruited for military service will be required to take on much more responsibility than many underage drinkers. Many will have to make split-second decisions in population-centric warfare, negotiate with corrupt warlords, walk troops through terrain riddled with mines and improvised explosive devices. Does recruitment really take into account the neurological, epistemic, and cognitive limitations that come with adolescence? Quotas likely couldn't be reached if they did. But that means one small sliver of the population makes the sacrifices for all. They may do so willingly, as part of the lofty call to duty, honor, or country. But taking on the moral risks and responsibilities of military service on behalf of others leaves them unfairly burdened, not just in the act of signing up, but also in ongoing morally exploitative relationships. And this is especially so in an era when troops are forced to deploy multiple times in endless wars. The military sociologist Charles Moskos argued decades ago that an all-volunteer force makes far too little demand on most of American citizenry. He urged a return to conscription as one tier of three within a system of mandatory national youth service. This is how we share civic responsibility and civic duty, he argued. Military conscription would not exempt those at the top of the social ladder. Needless to say, the argument was a political non-starter. While Robillard and Strawser outline at the end of the book policy options, one of which is dubbed skin in the game, i.e. mandatory conscription, policy is not their primary focus. What they are interested in is conceptual analysis, the moral exploitation of soldiers as a result of structural and institutional factors and the downstream effects of that exploitation. The downstream effects are what I know best from my work with service members and veterans over many decades. Too few who are too young and too vulnerable shoulder too much moral responsibility. The result is often profound moral injury, a sense of shattered moral identity, sometimes to do with their own transgressions, real or apparent, other times to do with profound wrongs suffered at the hands of commanders who betray them or violate their trusts, still others to do with what they witness up close. Moral injury and its emotions, guilt and shame, resentment and rage, can rack a soul for a lifetime. Moral repair, through self-empathy, forgiveness, therapy, and service, are all ways soldiers try to come home. This is to focus on the individual, what it feels like to be overburdened with moral responsibility in a high-stakes situation and to live with the moral anguish of decisions you wish you hadn't made that take a buddy's life, or that kill a young child in a collateral incident under permissive rules of engagement. The examples are too many in war. Take Lalo Paniagua, who gave permission to one of his fellow Marines, Corporal Justin Wilson, to leave the MRAP to relieve himself, only to be blown up by an improvised explosive device. For years, Lalo was haunted with what he could have and should have done. I could have said through the radio to the squad, "Don't forget to reinforce the area." Once he got injured, I could have pushed harder to get the sergeant on site to call in medevac faster. "I'm the guy in charge," he repeated to me over and over. "They're my kids, and I didn't take care of my baby birds." This is the personal moral profile, here to do with a young 19-year-old in charge of a squad fighting in a mine-ridden area near the Helmand River in Afghanistan. He joined the Corps on the cusp of 18 as a way to leave the LA barrio, to serve nobly, and belong to a cause larger than himself and more honorable than a street gang. Or take Commander Lane McDowell, a Naval Academy graduate and FA-18 pilot whose memory of flying sorties over Kosovo in an F-14 squadron haunt him. It was a midday strike on a radio relay site in northern Kosovo, May 1999. Intelligence imagery was grainy.